She knew I didn't realize I was changing. That's the part they'll never warn you about. You don't wake up one morning and decide to become distant. It happens quietly, between meetings, between responsibilities, between all the things you tell yourself matter more. She noticed before I did. When we met, I was still someone who listened. Not just with my ears, but with my attention. Back then I had space inside my head, room for pauses, room for curiosity, room for her. Her name was Claire. She didn't talk too much, but when she did, she expected you to be there, fully. That was the first thing she said she liked about me. "You're present," she said once. "Most people are already somewhere else." I didn't know how temporary that compliment would be. We built something slowly, no fireworks, no dramatic beginnings, just shared mornings, coffee that went cold because we forgot to drink it, long walks without a destination. The kind of connection that feels solid because it isn't trying to impress anyone. I thought that meant it was unbreakable. I was wrong. The shift started the year my job changed. More responsibility, more pressure, more people needing answers from me. At first, I handled it well. At least, that's what I told myself. I was still there physically, still coming home, still asking how her day was. But my mind stayed at work. She noticed the delays before I did, the extra seconds before I answered, the way my eyes drifted away when she spoke, how often I said, "Just a minute." She never accused me. That would have been easier. Instead, she adjusted. She talked less, waited more, learned when not to interrupt. I mistook her adaptation for understanding. That was my second mistake. One night, we sat on opposite ends of the couch. The TV was on, but neither of us was watching. She turned to me. "Do you ever feel like you're already gone?" she asked. I laughed lightly. "I'm right here," I said. She nodded. "I know." That was all, and somehow that made it worse. I wish I had asked what she meant. I didn't. I thought clarity would come later, when work slowed down, when things settled. I didn't realize I was trading presence for progress. There was a version of me she knew, a man who paused before answering, who noticed shifts in her voice, who didn't need silence filled. That version of me still existed. He was just busy being postponed. The night that changed everything didn't feel important at the time. That's how it always happens. No raised voices, no slammed doors, just one sentence said too late. Announce itself. And there was no music, no dramatic timing, just a Tuesday evening that looked like every other one. That's what made it dangerous. I came home late, again. My phone was still buzzing in my hand when I closed the door behind me. Emails, messages, loose ends that never seemed to tie themselves. Claire was at the table. Dinner was already cold. She didn't say anything about the time. She never did. I kissed her on the head out of habit. She leaned into it for half a second longer than usual. I missed that, too. We ate mostly in silence, not an angry silence, a careful one. The kind where both people are protecting something fragile without agreeing on what it is. She cleared her throat. "I got an offer today," she said. I nodded automatically. "That's great," I said. "What kind?" She watched me for a second. "Can you put the phone down?" she asked. That was the moment, the one I'd think about later. I hesitated, just a beat too long. Then I placed it face down on the table. "Sorry," I said. "Go ahead." Her expression changed, not angry, resolved. "It's a position in Portland," she said. "Design lead, full-time." I looked up. "That's far." She smiled slightly. "Yeah." I started calculating immediately. Flights, distance, logistics. What I didn't calculate was how long she'd already been preparing for this conversation. "When would you move?" I asked. She didn't answer right away. "That depends," she said. "On what? On me?" I didn't ask. That was the third mistake. Instead, I said the practical thing, the efficient thing. "The timing's not great," I said, "with everything going on at work." She nodded. "I figured you'd say that." Something in her voice told me this wasn't new information for her. "I'm not saying no," I added quickly. "I just think we should be realistic." She looked at me the way you look at someone who's explaining something simple and still not understanding it. I am being realistic, she said quietly. That's when she said the sentence I still hear sometimes. I've been shrinking my life to fit into yours, she said, and I don't think you've noticed. The room felt smaller after that. I wanted to argue, to explain, to list all the ways I was doing this for us. But something stopped me. Maybe it was the calm in her voice, or the fact that she wasn't asking for reassurance. She was informing me. I love you, she said, but I don't feel chosen anymore. That word, chosen. I didn't know how to respond to that without lying, so I stayed quiet. She stood up slowly. I'm not leaving because of Portland, she said. I'm leaving because I don't recognize myself here. She walked to the bedroom, closed the door. Gently. I sat there long after, the food untouched, the phone still face down, for the first time all evening, completely silent. I told myself I'd talk to her in the morning, that I just needed time to think, that clarity would come. It always did. But when I woke up, her side of the bed was empty. Her suitcase was gone. Not everything, just enough. On the kitchen counter, there was a note. 3 lines. No accusations, no explanations. Just the truth. I need to remember who I was before I learned how to disappear. Please don't follow me out of guilt. Take care of the version of you I loved. I read it 3 times. Then I folded it carefully, like I could preserve something by being gentle with it. I didn't chase her. I told myself that was respect. Sometimes I wonder if it was fear. What I didn't realize then was that silence doesn't protect love. It only delays the moment longer than I expected. Not empty, quiet. There's a difference. At first, I told myself this was temporary, that she just needed space, that distance would soften things, that time would do what conversations hadn't. Time didn't fix anything. It clarified. Her mug stayed on the counter for weeks. I didn't move it, not out of hope, out of avoidance. I started coming home earlier. No one noticed. That was the cruelest part. Friends asked how I was doing. I said, fine. It was the most efficient answer. It ended the conversation. At night, the city sounded different. Same streets, same noise, less meaning. I replayed moments I'd dismissed before, the way she paused before speaking, the questions she stopped asking. The quiet compromises I mistook for patience. What I didn't realize then was how loud her silence had been. 3 months passed, then 4, then 6. I almost deleted her number. Almost. One night, I opened a box I'd been avoiding. Photos, old notebooks, a folded flyer from an art show she'd invited me to, the one I never attended. I remembered telling her I'd come next time. There hadn't been a next time. That's when the weight finally hit. Not like grief, like recognition. I hadn't lost her suddenly. I'd lost her slowly, decision by decision, absence by absence. I started therapy, not because I was broken, because I didn't want to stay unaware. My therapist asked me a simple question. When was the last time you chose someone over your comfort? I didn't answer. I couldn't find one. A year after she left, I heard she'd stayed in Portland. She'd built something there, a life that didn't require her to disappear. I felt relief and regret at the same time. I never reached out, not because I didn't want to, because I finally understood the note. Please don't follow me out of guilt. Some nights I imagine a different version of that Tuesday, the one where I put the phone down sooner, the one where I asked the question I avoided, the one where silence didn't win. But imagination doesn't change anything, presence does. And I learned that too late. Now, when someone pauses before speaking, I listen. When something feels fragile, I stay. When it would be easier to disappear into work, I choose differently. Not perfectly, but consciously. Love doesn't ask for perfection. It asks for participation. I don't know if Claire ever thinks about me. That's not mine anymore. What I know is this. The version of me she left behind doesn't exist now, and the one I'm becoming would never confuse being busy with being there. Some lessons arrive quietly. They stay with you forever.